Hostile helicopter has been identified to your west. Objective Delta has been neutralized.
Here's your ammo. Go get it.
Fellas, I know that in this channel we are focused around Path of Exile, but with their latest league slowly wrapping up and their next content drop roughly being 20 days away, I figured that we could dip into other stuff until that content releases, and heck, this might even become a permanent thing in the channel. So with all the hype surrounding Battlefield 2042, I figured that Battlefield 4 will be a nice thing to visit as it's currently rather populated, with all kinds of players. Like seriously, the majority of servers have queues to them, which is great in one hand because there is a never-ending influx of players and the game feels alive, but on the other hand it's annoying because finding a server with space, especially when playing in a party, is rather difficult. Though with all honesty, if the hype for Battlefield 2042 affected servers this much after 2 small trailers, I expect the info dump during EA Play later this month to attract even more people into Battlefield 4, newcomers and veterans alike. But that's okay because once you join a match, it hardly empties out, which allows for hours of countless fun, which I intend to talk about today. So hey, if you are new around here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, otherwise a rating and a comment are always appreciated. Anyways, coming back to Battlefield 4, after playing one game and genre for far too long in this channel, it is quite refreshing to change into something a bit more relaxed and laid back. Though in my opinion your mileage is going to vary depending on what kind of match you joined and your level of expertise with the series. Sure, there are some sweaty tryhards out there, especially closet colonels, but the hype is strong enough that there is also plenty of newcomers, and together they allow for some rather wacky experiences, which can only be described as Battlefield moments that the series is known for. And as I pretty much write my script and check my clips, I'm having such a hard time committing to specific situations. Like, do I focus this video around flanking, or do I focus around playing the objective or cheesing or whatever? But the more I think about it, the more I realize that that's the quote-unquote Battlefield magic. So many things that can happen in a short span of time that make the experience unique and fun. For example, I don't drive vehicles often, as I am more an infantry-oriented player. However, recently driving a tank or an LAV has become so erratic that it can lead to some hilarious moments. What I mean by this is attempting to get a tank out of your spawn, grabbing a couple of unsuspecting players along the way, eventually encountering enough resistance that you become a high-value target to every engineer or C4 junkie in proximity. And this snowballs into a race against time where the goal is to see how many you can take down with you before the tank becomes a charred carcass. It's such a unique experience I don't think other games can deliver. Another example is, say you join the classic 64-player Operation Metro Conquest, which has 3 flags on it, and you were lucky enough to play on the team that spawns outside the metro area, which, as veterans to the series know, this is the better team to play with for Operation Metro, because this team has an easier time rushing towards B just as the match starts. And locking down B means that you're the ones delivering the stomping to the opposing team. But you, as a player in the team that lockdowns B, decides to spawn as a support player, with their trusty LMG, C4 and ammo pack. So you wonder, what can you do to ruin the day of those trying to capture B? There's always the classic play of finding the shadiest angle from where to deploy a bipod and mow down any opposition attempting to take the territory. Or there is the alternative of committing a couple of war crimes by using C4 on unsuspecting players. My personal favorite is throwing C4 on the maintenance tunnel to the right side of the elevators, where an offensive push can be slowed down if not stopped completely by detonating a couple of charges in there. Bonus points if you stop a revive train altogether by spamming C4 charges, and even more so if you get insulted in the chat. Or the absolute gaming warlord route of attaching a suppressor on your LMG, pushing down the stairs and squirming your way into their flank, where you can pick up a couple dozen unsuspecting players in the span of a few seconds. This one is the most rewarding but the hardest to pull off, which also leads into a certain degree of addiction, because once you've pulled it off you want to do it again. Which sometimes it's possible, other times people quickly adapt to this level of cheese and you're better off doing something else for the remainder of the match. But at the same time, flanking has become such a fun playstyle, and I don't know if it's due to the newcomers to the series or if this has been experienced all along. But some of these flanks I've managed to pull off recently are disgusting enough that they just leave you feeling morally corrupt. which also has me rather hyped for 2042 because right now 64-player lobbies can become chaos. 2042 is going to have up to 128 players in a lobby. The potential for wacky situations is high enough that, as I said previously, not two matches are gonna be the same. Granted, I hope that my PC can handle 2042's large player lobbies, or the game as a whole, but time will tell. Coming back to Battlefield 4, I gotta admit, I did not play the game on release back in 2013. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't have a platform to play it. And it wasn't until I was near finished with university that I got my first gaming PC, which was nothing fancy, but it was enough to play Battlefield 4 smoothly. And while my first impression back then was relatively negative due to the amount of sweaty people playing it, I quickly became numb to it and embraced the cheese because at the end of the day, you're here to have fun, which has been my mentality playing this game recently. Now, to be totally honest, I think that despite being 8 years old, Battlefield 4 actually holds quite nicely to today's standards. Sure, it does have some mechanics which are a bit outdated or maybe a bit annoying for a first-person shooter, like for example, say you killed a player and have like 15 rounds remaining in the magazine, so you go to reload only to get surprised by another player mid-reload, and you cannot do anything but stand there with your pants down at the mercy of your opponent. And I know that in other games you can cancel your reload mid-animation and fire the gun, but in here that does not fly, and I find myself dying to situations like those rather often. But overall, I do feel like the general mechanics of the game are not that outdated. Sure, the balance is a bit off at times. Things like the AEK dominating close to medium range, or the medic revive trains that can completely shift the flow of a match. But with so many gadgets, weapons and attachments to mess around with, and vehicles in some maps, I guess balance is the last thing you're worried about when trying to capture that one flag that can secure the win. And for a game that is both a vehicle and infantry oriented experience, it is not that bad in that regard despite its age. In general, I am happy to see Battlefield 4 populated again, though if you think about it, it never really died, despite the series getting 3 quote-unquote sequels in recent years, which comes to show how much a modern setting for the series is so appreciated. And then again, the hype is quite strong as a motivator to try out stuff, because unlike other entries in the series, this one is quite populated right now, and in my opinion, I think that Battlefield 4, despite its rough start many years ago, is the one that remains as the best in the series. All of the games have a charm to them, but I feel like Battlefield 4 was the one that maintained the quote-unquote magic. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me today in this short Battlefield video. I've been playing a lot of it recently and have had a lot of fun with it. We might do another video on it, depending on how well this one does, so if you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, a rating and a comment are always appreciated. Thank you so much for watching the video. Take care, have a nice weekend, and peace out.